Hello, good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning NASDAQ right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. You got Huddie right there.
I'm your
You got
host. I am
Dom.
Huddie.
He's your host. I'm your co-host. And we're here to talk to you about a little pre-market prep, what we do every single morning that the market is open, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 8:45 a.m. Yesterday we did some live trading at 9:15 a.m. Missed Huddy for that one, but there wasn't a lot going on. We just talk about the biggest gappers of the day. I already see a comment about lots of gappers to chat about. I did not realize that that was sarcasm until I just checked a moment ago. So we will have to fill the time some way, somehow. I can just sing for everyone for a couple minutes, or you guys can just ask a bunch of really good questions, kind of a continuation of Wine Wednesday last night. I know we didn't get to everyone's question because they started pouring in, and Gratani was there, and it was awesome. So also, you never want to miss those. 7 p.m. Eastern. You can always rewatch them as well if you go to our YouTube page, and then go to playlists Wine Wednesday. They will show up there. How are we doing this morning, Huddy? On the 18th day of July, year of our Lord 2024.
We're doing well. It's awesome that Gratani was on Wine Wednesday last night. You guys should all probably check that out. He's always dropping knowledge bombs and nuggets for the community. And I'm doing well. I'm on a boat right now. The boat is currently in transit, so we'll see if I cut in or cut out. Um, but yeah, let's. I feel like I've been kind of keeping half an eye on the market. I tend to take the summers a lot less seriously because I just think there's like a lack of opportunity and a lack of I mean we're seeing it right now. Like there's no gappers, there's not a lot of structure out there, although there's probably a couple trades that I could foresee day trades on. Uh, but it just feels like a time to really be focused and specific about what you trade because if you are trying to buy yourself a win, you're not going to. It's not going to happen. And that's typical for summer trading, right? Generally, we like to grind October to May, and then June, July, August, September, October can be those months that are kind of times to, still be here, still be watching the market, but be very selective and be very specific about what you want to trade because a lot of it's just horse crap.
Why did you choose horse there?
Because I think I was going to cuss, and instead of that, horse came up.
Yeah, I think most people would benefit during these times to learn how to trade with that patient and disciplined mindset. I think too many people kind of try to apply a one size fits all method to the market in the wrong way, and they just are always pushing, always looking for that next giant winner. And instead of just treating it always like it's a slow market, and when you do get that fast market and you're rewarded with hot sectors or just hot themes or lots of volume in the small cap space, it's just a lot easier to trade when you're coming from a good habit of being patient and disciplined for your setups, following your rules, all that good stuff. Because especially in slow markets, that is when your weaknesses really show up more because you don't have the quantity of plays to make up for the mistakes, and you can get away with in hot markets over trading a stock and coming out green on it, or taking too many trades in the morning and having an afternoon play to make up for it. So it's really, those weaknesses are really highlighted in slower markets. And I'm not saying we're in a dead slow market, but the watch list is starting to dwindle. We still have plays on watch, but there's no guarantee every morning that they're going to set up or work. And you even see it on a morning like this morning where we've had a nice history of having at least some 70, 80+% gappers for the last few weeks. And this feels like the first morning in which, by 9 a.m. at least right now, we don't have anything over 50%. I got one at 41% right now, creeping up. But which is fine. It's Thursday, second half of the week. I like to look at the weeks in halves and kind of see what the momentum is like. I think the overall market yesterday was quite weak. Green so far this morning, but did dip off the highs, over 1% down yesterday, which I think you saw some. I think William might have said it in the room yesterday. From a long bias perspective, there just wasn't a lot to make up for if you did take losses on the long side. There wasn't a lot of short setups out there and not a lot of follow through in the longs besides KZIA in the afternoon. Oh, that was pretty much it. So right now, just kind of focusing on the watch list, being patient, and usually by 10:30 a.m. right now, I know if it's going to be a slow day or something I want to sit around for. All right, get your questions in. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel as well. It's the button that says subscribe. It's really easy to click. It makes the number on our subscribers go up, which makes us happy. We are on a mission to get to 5,000 subscribers. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button as well. Not enough of you have been hitting the thumbs up button, and it's been concerning. I didn't want to bring it up until I had Huddy here, but Really do appreciate when you hit the thumbs up button. We like to get it up to 50 by the end of the show. So do your part. Volunteer as tribute. And if you've already liked it and you don't see the number going up, make another account, all that good stuff. Tell your grandma, tell your brother, get them on. Just tell them to hit the like button, and we'll be happy. Where do you want to start? You want to start about other stocks? Do you want to start with these gappers? Is it worth our time to look at 40%, 32%, and 29%?
It's worth our time to maybe go over them. I don't my scanner's not letting me log in, so you kind of have to direct the show.
All right. We can start with NKGN. I'm going to quickly go through there.
We've seen this one before.
Huh?
We've seen this one before.
Yeah, it's NKGen Biotech, a 9.2 million float, up 37.8% on the day. Was higher earlier this morning. We'll take a look at the chart in a second. Like I said, 9 million float, low across the board when it comes to overall risk, but they do need cash as they only have 1.4 months of cash left. They released news 52 minutes ago that they are going to present new positive SNK01 clinical trial biomarker data at the 2024 Alzheimer's Association International Conference. That's good to know because I wasn't planning on attending. Let's see what the recent news has all been. Just biotechy stuff. Okay. And pending effect. They got SPAC warrants pending effect. Not registered, not registered. All right. And not very much dilution. Daily chart is kind of flurried with random volume days in the 20 to 40 million category. One run that did kind of hold up for at least multiple days back in March, gapped from sub $1, ran all the way to $4, pulled back, and then kind of went on a multi-day bounce move. And since then, it's kind of just made lower high, lower high, lower high. But on these volume days, for the most part, besides that big one, there's not a ton of range. Right now, almost at 14 million in volume. It's hard for me to be interested when a stock's at 40% of the day, but maybe if that's all we get, some gap and crappers still go after them. And we do get some squeezes or at least some push. But this is stock that, from a long perspective, is riddled with resistance, even if it's not the most amazing volume. You do have this area at $2, $2.50, $3, and $4. So I do think that's going to come into play if the stock does start to move.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably look into the filings and to really understand what's going on here. I wonder if they are trying to keep their stock over $1. If you guys don't know, the whole game of small cap is to stay listed, to continue to finance your operations. And in order to stay listed on the NASDAQ really the NASDAQ is to keep your stock over $1, or else you get kind of hit with a non-compliance and you could get delisted. So there's a number of ways for a stock to stay over $1. One of the ways that we see all the time is through a reverse split, right? I honestly can't access the filings right now, but it seems to me when I'm looking at this daily chart that every time the stock goes towards $1, you saw it in March at $1, they PR'd and it ran to $4, and then the $4 kind of drifted off right back towards $1 in April, and they had this run up towards $2.11, and then faded right back towards $1. And then in May, another PR. And then, back in July, just today, back towards $1, and you see another PR. So just understand this is like the nature of small cap. The nature is to stay listed, to create financings in order to bring your product to market. And most times they're not going to be able to bring their product to market. So they're just going to sustain as long as they can in order to see their, wildest dreams come true. It's just blatant manipulation from my point of view. Doesn't mean it can't go higher, but it does seem like, if there was a support level, it's $1. And as Dom said, generally runs towards $2 to $4. So that's probably where resistance is, where previous buyers and sellers maybe got bagged. And I hope that makes sense, right? Like if you guys don't know about delistings and, compliance situations, let us know in the chat. But if that does make sense, let us know in the chat that it does.
It makes sense to me, Huddie.
Nice. Let me know in the chat.
Yes, get in the chat. Ask some questions. Any tickers you guys see, any tickers you have questions on, We can talk about them. There's other stuff on watch today. We put our watch list out every single night over at Clover Trading with our more concrete ideas. Gappers, we really like to show you guys what we're looking at when we pull up these stocks for the first time, when we go through the news, when we go through the filings, when we go through the fundamentals, when we go through the float, the market structure, the share structure, the daily chart, the resistance, the support, the big days on volume. All that stuff is important. But something like NKGN, we talk about it, but not really interested in playing it from a long or short perspective this morning. And hopefully I can jibber jabber enough before we get another gapper. We didn't get one. We didn't get another gapper. Do you want to continue going down the story? Do you want to talk about some other tickers that are just out there right now? Some ideas? Do you want to sing a song?
Just want to give away the watch list.
So I'm asking people to ask questions. Let me see if there's any interesting charts on these lower gappers. ONCO, we'll just rapid fire through them like I would if I was looking at my scanner at the end of the day. So ONCO is the next biggest one on the day, 31% up. This one, pretty clear history of what it does when it gets volume. Gap and crapped up back in this range. Tried to spike off its lows, immediately wick back down. That's all in this 23, 24 cent area. Did go on a little run. Trying to remember if I saw this one. Volume's not horrible. Kind of a first Green Day breakout right there through the 28 cent area. Was unable to hold its gains and then has kind of been much lower. This one that's, again, riddled with resistance. Whenever you have stocks that are recent runners, because we're always talking about having former runners on watch and recent runners, once they've kind of entered backside and they've already bounced multiple times, but we're still talking about a month or two away, and they were much, much higher. It's really difficult for those stocks to actually get going and run, besides like MLGO, which is the one recently that was able to do it. But from a long perspective, those are stocks that really tend to stay away from my watch list for a long time until they either build back towards resistance or so much time has passed that a lot of those bag holders have been worked out. Really looking for stocks near highs. And if they are coming off lows like this, I want there to not be resistance from 2 weeks ago, from a month ago, from 2 months ago. And pretty much all this year has created levels of resistance on something like ONCO. And those would be the reasons why, even before looking at any filings or anything, I make a lot of my decisions based off the daily chart. And this would be something that wouldn't be all that interesting to me. Also, 19-cent stock, only up 30% on the day. You had brought up SYTA earlier. Interesting chart here. Is this... Let's take a look at this one for a second. Out of Canada, Seattle Mobile. It's a business-to-business global vendor of the next generation push-to-talk over cellular. 4 minutes ago, they announced the addition of TJ Kennedy to its advisory board.
TJ Kennedy?
And then 2 hours ago, they announced new orders for U.S. wireless carriers valued at more than $4.5 billion. I just want to see if they've done anything recently. 6 million public offering 19 days ago. I don't see any horrible news, but they are down a lot in the past few months.
It looks like there's dilution in the twos just from the look of the chart.
22 months of cash left. Medium across the board. There's some priced offerings. They had to have done some reverse splits in their time. They have warrants that are exercisable at 4,795 and 8,050. All right, I don't see anything too relevant in here, but they have been on a little dumpster dive over the past few months. Definitely top left to bottom right chart. As we zoom out, they've definitely done some reverse splits. There's those $8,000 area coming into play. Whenever you see stocks like this that looks like in small cap land that say they've been to 5,000 or 10,000, very easy way to just know that they've done reverse splits in their past, which will increase. It's just a form of dilution that increases their price and decreases the amount of shares. So they can dilute again and do the same thing. And so when you've done that multiple times over and over, the price on the charts, once they get corrected, are kind of wrong, but they're right, but they're wrong. And so you see stocks that were never really at 5,000, but have 5,000 on the chart. But you have forms of resistance. Pretty much every time the stock has gotten volume, it has become a red candle, has closed below its open price. And In some instances, it spiked a little bit. We have a little bit wicks into the sky, and then it continues to go lower. Each one of these spikes also has not been able to spike past that previous level of resistance. So you have a stock that fails pretty much every time it gaps up, doesn't spike that much, and at least doesn't break the previous resistance, and then closes almost right back to where it came from. So this is not a stock that I expect to be a big runner today. What did I say the float was? 14 mil on an 89-cent stock. What are your thoughts, Jim?
I don't really have too many thoughts on a chart like this. When I brought it up to you earlier, I just thought it was a big percent gainer. Yeah, big history of failure. No clue what sector it's in. Like the only thing I can really say is like with small cap, it's really important to know what has been running well. And a lot of day traders are going to have a recency bias, meaning they're going to be impacted by what ran recently and try to chase the dragon, so to speak. So what I've seen just with my third eye is biotech. Biotech has been hot lately, and again, like kind of yesterday might have changed dynamic. Like it can change quite quickly. But we had KZIA run the other week. We had AMIX continue to run. We had not KZIA, SILO, which hasn't broken down yet. So these are all biotech stocks that have held their gains quite well. I do think biotech is hot. I still don't think this is like.
That's a scary sector to be hot.
Yeah. And again, like I prefer like not to buy day one stocks. I mean, most times I think I take losses if I try to do that. I think it's kind of like a poor odd situation unless you have a hot sector, and I don't really even think biotech is all that hot. But if this is biotech and it manages to hold up, like it wouldn't surprise me. It's not that big of a gap up. So at the same time, it always fails as well. Most days, like if I'm coming to the market, like again, like Tom kind of nailed it on the head. Like these gappers aren't that interesting at all. We're really just talking about them because they are the biggest percent gainers, but they're still not big percent gainers. They're not trading massive volume. They really shouldn't be on too many people's radars. So I don't really have much thoughts, other than I like biotech right now.
He likes biotech right now. All right. Today. I'm going through. There's some tickers you guys have brought up. Andrew says, Dom, did you end up calling KZIA a rule break? I decided not. It's like a mixed one. William sent me a screenshot of my bootcamp presentation that I did on the online bootcamp in June. And it's almost identical chart to KZIA, where I bought in the morning, cut when I thought it wasn't going to work anymore. And then I bought late in the day, like kind of when KZIA looked to have, when it started to perk. It was like identical chart. It's kind of funny. Except this one popped and then broke low day and failed. So I lost twice on that one. And I broke a rule because that's not the pattern, which is what I'm looking to do. So instead of popping and running into the close, the other one in the presentation failed. So I think it was a good remembrance of just because it worked at the end of the day doesn't mean it was a rule break. So I decided that I just followed my plan, that I could have given it a little more time as well.
I would say that just from like a third party perspective, knowing how Dom trades, an afternoon first screen day is a bit funky for him. I think it's generally probably a morning pattern. So when he doesn't get the like immediate follow up, I think more times than not playing it safe is probably the better option, and the one that kind of holds up and breaks into the afternoon. Like, yeah, there was a play there, but it's probably just the wrong time frame for what he is used to expecting with first screen day reversals. So I wouldn't really consider it a rule break for you either, just because generally setups have like a time frame, right? You plan. Is this a morning play? Is this an afternoon play? Is this a 2-week hold? Is this a day trade? And you kind of have those expectations going into the trade. So although it did hold up well and ended up going further, it really didn't happen how most of them happen. So I understand why someone would just kind of take it off for as small of a loss as possible and just move on to the next. I think there's no harm, no foul.
Good. Then we settled it. We agree. We're in agreements. We do have a gapper popping up 60% right now. Main issue being COMM. Wait. Oh, there's like no dilution filings or anything because it's such a big company. Market cap of 280 mil. I don't see a float. But the news is that their Amphenol Corporation to acquire mobile networks business from CommScope. Acquisition. It's been kind of uptrending the last few days. 2.1 billion in cash. I'm gonna see if I see a price. I don't know if it's the actual business or part of the business.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like a merger in a sense where it's not just like flatlined at a certain price. Maybe it's anticipated, and that's why it's kind of gravitating up. But this one will trade today.
Yeah, bigger float. Not really small cap. Interesting. Popping up this morning though. Yeah, it's one of those stocks, again, you can kind of tell a true small cap from something else, even if it's low price, just based on volume. You can see this is a stock that pretty much trades volume every day. Even if it's just 3 to 5 million, you can see like there's a thick candles at the bottom, no matter what day of the week it is, or day of the month, time of the year. It trades pretty consistently. It has a market there for it, whereas a lot of our small caps, throw me out a ticker, Huddie. KZIA. You can see here when it's trading, it's nothing. It's trading nothing. And even if you took this day away and you looked at it, and this would say would be higher because you wouldn't have this range to take away from it. This is so much different and so much bigger. It's like the equivalent of Com trading 700 million shares in a day. How much different that would look on the daily chart. And I don't have a lot of interest here. This isn't like a breakout I'm interested in playing multi-week, multi-month. It's one of those, I don't quite understand the news, so it's not like our normal crappy catalyst. So it's nice that we had something pop up, but not the typical one that I would want to see.
Yeah, I'm generally not a fan of like fundamental news, mainly because I don't understand it. And my job as a day trader is not to understand everything in the market, it's to understand the things that make sense. And if it doesn't really make sense to me because it's convoluted in a number of different ways, I just don't try to understand it. And generally fundamental situations, fundamentals like this, where they're like merging with another company or whatever, I try to avoid those. Not fundamentals in the sense of like dilution and stuff like that. I also don't like just bigger market caps. I like to keep it, especially on gappers, like I like to keep it under 300 mil market cap. I don't necessarily know. Again, like my shit's not loading, but if you're saying it's a bigger market cap, it's probably not something I'm really looking to trade up that much.
Oh, I broke my slinky.
What's a slinky?
This thing. So that's COMM. COMM. 200 mil float, J-Bone says. Yeah, so that's a bigger company, just not something we're generally looking at. SYTA. Ratish says, NAS. Thoughts on NAS? China play seems like liquidation trap recent RSS. Is that reverse split or something different? Huddie?
I don't know what RRS is. Recent reverse split, maybe? He's just like recent.
Yeah, this was a really solid first green day on what are we, Thursday? Tuesday. I participated in that.
They're a charging station.
Are they?
I think they're like they make charging stations for electric vehicles, so
yep,
you know, kind of tied to this
world,
sector.
out of China.
You know, something with this like, so a little sketchy out of China, but you know, something like this, I'm probably just putting an alert near the breakout level and letting it either live its best life, or when it comes time to play a breakout, I'll be interested. It's got decent volume these past 2 days, and had decent volume the other week, so could be interesting, but nothing really I can predict from here.
Yeah, in my mind, that's your level that matters. This is one of those that's kind of gone from backside to consolidation range. The breakout level being right around 7, we've pulled to as low as the high 2s. So we were far off the highs. This bounce has gone further than expected for in general when stocks come that far off their highs. So this is one of those where it's more of like we have this double top now around 596. And if it were to break out from here, I would probably just avoid, just because of how far we've gone to get to this point. Like going from 250 to get to 7 and then breaking out. Do I really think 10 is possible? That's a stretch. So it could happen. Usually the worst ones work the best. But from a risk reward perspective, I'm not sure if I'd be all that interested. I'd much rather see this top out, go sideways for a day at least, than kind of cup and handle and break out when it's working, it's a nice trender, can run, can gap. So definitely one to keep an eye on. This when I'm talking about former runners that I want to keep an eye on from the past weeks. This is a one of interest because we're near the highs again, and behind it, there's really not that much resistance at all. Alrighty, well that is 9:16. 123 drummer Max says, where do you usually put alerts before breakout?
I usually do 10% below the level.
Wherever I would just look at like an intradaily. So the intradaily is, you know, some sort of time frame that shows you the entire move, but on a day-to-day basis instead of a daily chart or just an intraday. And you know, I don't do that because I have enough charts up and enough screens that I have all the interesting ones I'm watching on. But if I did set up some sort of alerts, I would probably have it at resistance points before the breakout, so that way I know that it's at least starting to threaten it. So in this case, I kind of like this 590 area, so maybe I throw it at 575. You just don't want to, I guess, get to the point where you're doing it too far away and you're constantly starting to watch stuff that's maybe not ready just because you have so many alerts going out. But all right. Thank you guys for being here. How do you have a webinar today at 11 with Kyle? Right?
Indeed.
We
do.
Lost Huddie. But all right. So if you want access to that, we do live webinars every week. You'll hear from all of us at some point. Those webinars are archived as well, which we have, gosh, over 100 now. Probably way more than that. That you can go through. So lots of hours of content. If you're interested in 3 or 4 leave, head on over to clovertrading.io. Thank you guys for your likes today. You didn't quite get to 50, but it's a slow day. We're allowing it. 45 is good for me. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. For all you 4 leaves and 3 leaves, we will see you over at clovertrading.io here in a second. And everyone else, we will see you tomorrow to wrap up this beautiful week at 8:45 a.m. right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. So long, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.